Hi guys, welcome back to Nyx Reads. Please feel free to subscribe if you love bookish content and give this video a like if you've enjoyed it. Today I wanted to give you guys my personal 10 summer reading recommendations. If you're on vacation, if you just maybe are taking a break, taking it slow, even if you're just staying at home, and some books that you can take to the beach, of course, as a beach read. I decided to put together a list for the people out there who want something else besides romance. So I have you covered if you like YA, if you like nonfiction, if you like thrillers, mysteries. You'll find a little bit of everything in this video. I think that there's a lot of books from other genres other than romance that can be lighthearted and super fast-paced. Firstly, I want to talk about my favorite rom-com author. So I want to suggest to you guys Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. I have read so many books from this author already. I think I read almost all of the Shopaholics books that are out at the moment. I absolutely love them. This author generally makes me laugh out loud when I read her books. I find her really funny. It's always lighthearted. Her characters are usually super endearing, and rom-com is kind of my sweet spot. In fact, this one isn't technically rom-com. It's more towards YA coming of age, which is quite unusual for this author actually. This is one of her more unique books, I would say. So this book is about Audrey. She's a teenager who suffers from, I think it's social anxiety. So she doesn't feel very comfortable around people usually, and she would prefer to stay home, much to the dread of her mother, who's usually trying to push her out of her comfort zone. And in this story, she meets Linus, who's a friend of her brother's. She starts making a new connection in her life, which is unusual for her. There was just a lot of genuinely funny moments in here on how she interacts with her parents and with her brother. Although this book deals with a quite serious subject, the humor of the author just brings out the lightness in this story, and it makes it such an enjoyable read. And it's also quite short actually. I think it's under 300 pages or just above. Yeah, it's under 300 pages, so I think this is great to read during the summer. The next book was super popular a few years ago, and I think you should read it if you haven't already. It's Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. This is a contemporary fiction book that will also make you laugh so much, and at the same time it's gonna take you to places in Asia, and it talks also a lot about lavish vacationing and food and culture. It's just the descriptions in this book about fashion or about fancy dishes is so delicious. It's so vivid that it makes you feel like you're transported. If you're, for example, staying home this summer and you want to feel like that, I think this is a great book to grab. If you yourself are traveling to an Asian country this summer, also a great book. This is like a modern fairy tale love story where we have Rachel Chu. She is from Chinese descent. She lives in America. She grew up there. She's a professor herself, quite successful, and then one day she meets Nick, and Nick is the most dreamiest boyfriend ever, basically, and he turns out to be crazy rich, ridiculously rich, to a point that it's hard to imagine, I think, for a regular person like me at least. She basically only learns when he takes her back to his best friend's wedding in Singapore. And that is where she is sucked into this world of money, of jets, of diamonds, of just the most lavish parties that you can imagine. And obviously there's going to be some obstacles that they have to overcome as a couple. But just all in all, it's such a great lighthearted read. It is a bit longer than your regular beach read, but I swear that you will fly through this so fast, because the drama in here, and as I mentioned, just the setting of it, you're just soaking it up super fast. And if you've enjoyed this, this was actually turned into a movie, which you've probably heard about. And I've watched that movie, I think, at least 2 or 3 times already. I think it's actually a very great adaptation. Or if you don't have time at all to read, then why not just watch the movie? Of course, I have to have a book from Taylor Jenkins Reid in this list. So I read Daisy Jones and the Six, which is the one I am particularly recommending you guys, and I have read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I personally prefer this one. This is about the fictional rock band The Six that rises to fame in the 60s with Daisy as the front singer. The story is told through the forms of interviews, which also makes it very, very fast-paced, and you will fly through the pages. And we all know at this point that Taylor Jenkins Reid is the absolute master of creating fictional, famous characters and making it feel like they're real, like they've actually lived, and it makes you want to go on the internet and look up videos or interviews or Wikipedia articles, but obviously they don't exist because they're fictional, but it really feels great. It feels like you're reading a story about Marilyn Monroe, for example. This really captures how complicated fame can be and life on the road. On a side note, have you guys seen the promo photos of Ana de Armas dressed as Marilyn Monroe online? She's a very gorgeous actress who is Latin. Obviously in those photos she has the bleach blonde hair like Marilyn Monroe and the same getup, and that is exactly how I picture Evelyn Hugo to look like from The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And was I the only one who thought that when they saw the photos? Next up, I have a YA recommendation. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. It seems like nobody's really picking it up anymore, but I absolutely love this book, and I'm actually looking forward to new works of Rainbow Rowell, but I don't think if she's coming out with anything anytime soon. This book could be really great if, let's say, you're on summer break and you're looking forward to your very first year of college, or maybe you're going back to college after the summer, because in this story we have the twins, Kat and Ren, who go to college, and they've been super inseparable their whole lives and did everything together, but suddenly Ren, who's the more outgoing of the two, doesn't want to be roommates in college and kind of wants to find her own way, and Kat is kind of left stranded because she's not as comfortable as making new friends, and she has a few anxieties that she has to deal with. Basically, Kat just rather stay in her room and write her beloved fan fiction and just not interact with anybody. Through her new roommate, she makes a few new connections, and that's kind of where the story picks up. I liked the romance portion in it. That's usually a hard one to get right in YA books, especially. A great book if either you really want to hype yourself up to go to college or return to college and really get into that feeling, or if you want to read about a fangirl who's so much into a book series that she writes her own fan fiction that is actually very popular. I'm moving on to the mystery and thriller section. So for my classic murder mystery story, of course I have to recommend you a book from Agatha Christie, and this particular one is Evil Under the Sun. I mean, honestly, you can pick up any Agatha Christie, but I thought, you know, for a summer vacation, this is probably a great one to go with. This is about a hotel setting on an island where Poirot is trying to just take a break and relax. That is our detective. He starts to mingle a bit with the other guests, and one day, one of the guests turns up dead on the beach. And from there, he has to work after all and figure out what happened and who killed this woman. I think this is very fitting because of the vacation setting, but also, again, this is quite short. It's only about 250 pages. You can read this easily while you're away on holidays, and it's just a lot of fun to, you know, to guess what is gonna happen. I just really like her writing style. It's very accessible. If you're more into modern, cozy murder mysteries, I have to recommend you The Maid by Anita Prose. I have a separate book review up for this. It's very short, only 5 minutes. You can watch it if you want a bit more details. This is about Molly the maid. She's our main character. It is heavily implied that she is on the spectrum of being neurodivergent, but officially on the blurb it just says that she struggles with social skills, and she used to live with her grandma who used to guide her through life, but then her grandma passes away and Molly just has to start figuring everything out herself. But it's not always easy because she really has a hard time on picking up cues, so interacting with people. She works at the prestigious Regency Grand Hotel, and while she's cleaning the suites, one day she finds a dead body of a tycoon, in fact, in the rooms. And because of her differentness, the police start suspecting her. And the main part of the story is how she's dealing with people who are not being honest with her and it's frustrating because you as the reader know that something is up, but she doesn't quite pick up on it. But then she does have people in her corner who do help her out. She's honestly just a very wholesome person, and that's why I felt quite close to her while reading this. I want to repeat that it's a cozy mystery, so you won't find the big intrigue in here. This is really more character focused. And I think this is a great reading recommendation for the summer if you're maybe staying at a hotel yourself on your vacation, or if you just want to have like a little escape and see what is going on behind the scenes of such a hotel. For my thriller recommendation, I didn't pick this because of the setting. It doesn't really have anything to do with vacation, but purely because I think you will just fly through this because it's just so much fun and it will keep you guessing. Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I have talked about this already in one of my wrap-ups, and I have enjoyed this so much. It is a domestic thriller, or that's how it starts out. Our main character is Louise, a single mom. One night she just wants to get out and starts flirting with a man at the bar, and they just share a very quick kiss and then he just vanishes. And then she goes to work the next day. She is an assistant, or like a receptionist, in a clinic, in a psychiatrical clinic. And it turns out that the man that she kissed the day before is her new married boss. So her new boss, David, kind of just wants to pretend like nothing happened. He is married to Adele, who seems like the perfect rich woman who has everything. But Louise can't quite let it go, and she kind of starts to get sucked into the drama of what is David's and Adele's life. Where it gets really juicy but very complicated is when Louise accidentally stumbles into Adele and starts befriending her. Not on purpose, but it happens, so she then has to juggle her crush on David while being friends with his wife. And the actual interesting part is there is a twist in this book that anybody who has read this will say that they have not seen coming at all. But I really don't want to give you any more pointers because I want you to read it, even if just for the twist. I think it's a really good one. This was so unique for a thriller. All the characters are so shitty, you basically don't root for anybody, but it is part of the experience. My last two recommendations are for the non-fiction lovers out there, and this one in particular also for someone who maybe enjoys historical fiction. It's My Life in France by Julia Child. Julia Child is the chef who brought the French cuisine, the French art of cooking to America. As the title suggests, this book really focuses on her moving to Paris with her husband Paul Child, who works for the government, so they moved there because of his job. And this is where she really discovers her love for the culinary scene, and she enrolls in the Cordon Bleu school. The reason why I think this is a great summer read is because of the setting. So they are in Paris, but it's also about travel in general, and from Paris they travel to different cities throughout Europe throughout time. So that's why I think if you're interested in traveling to a European country, or you are this summer, this is a great companion for you. The language in this book is so heartfelt. It's quirky like her because it's from her point of view, and it's written with so much gusto. You won't believe the descriptions of the city and obviously especially of the food, of ingredients, of cooking in general. Definitely also a recommendation for anybody who enjoys baking and cooking, or even just drinking wine. I usually don't read nonfiction, I listen to it, but because otherwise I get bored. But this, I read the physical copy that I have right here, and it was an amazing experience. And lastly, this is kind of a two-in-one. It's Why Not Me and Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me by Mindy Kaling. I learned about Mindy Kaling through The Office, and after I finished that show, I watched The Mindy Show, which is also great. And then I moved on to her books because I just really like what she writes, what she produces, her humor. Maybe you're someone who really is not into fiction books. You still want to pick something up that is lighthearted, that is not a romance book, so I think this is the way to go. These both are essay collections. She covers so many different topics in these essays, be it being female, being a female writer, being a female writer who's not white in this industry, and also just interesting facts and tidbits about her life from when she was growing up. Books like these are always hit or miss, right? Because I don't know what your humor is, but I highly recommend these. these were my 10 reading recommendations that I have for you this summer, and I hope one of these makes it on your list. Let me know if you have read any of these already, and I just wish you guys a nice summer. I'll see you next time. Bye.